Romanesque architecture, Italy. Introduction. Romanesque architecture varied greatly in Italy in both style and construction. The most formidable was Central Italian, notably Florentine and Pisa Romanesque architecture, and the architecture of Sicily, influenced by the Norman settlers. Romanesque architecture in Italy halted the construction of wooden roofs in churches, and also experimented with the usage of the groin vault or barrels. Church walls using the Romanesque tended to be bulky and heavy to support the roof. The building's weight tended to buckle on the outside, and there used to be buttresses to support the buildings. They used to simply consist of marble or stone, and had little decoration, unlike the rich mosaics found in Italian Byzantine architectural works. The main innovation of Italian Romanesque architecture was the vault, which had never been seen before in the history of Western architecture. The Italians had a greater sense for beauty in details than developing a bold construction system. The Byzantine influence was the strongest in the Italian cities. The plans were same as basilicas, mostly vaulted, and mostly small. Some circular plan churches were also built. The towers were sometimes detached. They tried to use the dome for roofing, but it was limited. There was also a strong influence of the classical details. Blind arches were mainly an Italian feature. Architectural character: Central Italy. Plan: basilica type of plan. Climatic influence: arcades, small doors and windows, jambs in rectangular recesses, filled with small shafts, crowned with semicircular arches. Roofing: timber roofs over nave with rafters and tie beams decorated in color. Aisles with groin vaults of small span, divided into compartments by transverse arches. Columns: division of nave and aisles with antique columns. Variations of the classical type into finely carved and slender, twisted columns in cloisters, doorways and windows. Ornamentation. Concentration on beauty and delicacy of ornamentation. Classical traditions: ornamental wall passages rising one above the other into gables. Marble-faced walls. Row of apostles on lintels. Decorative carvings and mosaic. Symbolism represented by trees, birds, fishes and animals. Strong Byzantine influence in mosaics. Development of bell tower in 6th century gave it a special character. Architectural character: Northern Italy. Typology: churches and baptistries. Plan: basilica type of plan. Facade: flat entrance facades with a central projecting porch with columns standing on the backs of crouching beasts and a wheel window to light the nave. Gable outlined with arched cobble tables and arcades around the apse under eaves. Simple pilaster strip decoration from ground ending in the arched cobble tables. Roofing: development of the rib vault, exterior wall passage and arched cobble table. Vaulted nave and aisles with external wooden roofs. Aisles are often 2-story in height. Buttress: thick walls between the side chapels act as buttresses. Wall passages, around apses and octagonal lanterns add to exterior massing. Towers: straight shafts, detached without buttresses or spires. Decoration: roughly carved grotesques of men and beast, crouching beast supporting columns, projecting porches. Materials: stone and brick used instead of marble, hence less refin. Architectural character: Southern Italy. Influence: Byzantine in mosaic decoration. Islamic in the application of colored marble in striped patterns and stilted pointed arches. Norman in planning and construction. Cruciform plan. Planning: domes rather than vaults adopted. Use of dome supported on 4 columns over central space. Decoration: flat pilaster strips connected by arched cobble tables. Wheel windows made of elaborately pierced sheets of marble. Variety in columns and capitals. Nave arcade uncoupled columns in cloisters. Bronze doors, colored mosaics, geometric designs. Bronze pilasters. The city of Pisa. Pisa is a city in Tuscany, Central Italy, on the right bank of the mouth of the river Arno on the Ligurian Sea. It is the capital city of the province of Pisa. Although Pisa is known worldwide for its leaning tower, the bell tower of the city's cathedral, the city of over 87,500 residents, contains more than 20 other historic churches, several palaces and various bridges across the river Arno. The city is also home of a large university of 12th century. Pisa complex mainly comprises of 1. Pisa Cathedral, 2. Campanile, 3. Baptistry, 4. Campo Santo, Cemetery. It was cited to be built due to touristy reasons and establish Pisa as center of power. Pisa Cathedral. The cathedral at Pisa, with its baptistry, Campo Santo, and leaning tower, makes one of the most wonderful and beautiful groups of buildings in the world. The rounded arches are typical of the Romanesque style. So is the floor plan of the building. At first glance, the cathedral resembles an early Christian basilica with a timber roof, columnar arcade, and clear story, but the broadly projecting transept with apses, the crossing dome, and the facade's multiple arcaded galleries distinguish it as Romanesque. Pisa Cathedral, Duomo di Pisa, is a masterpiece of Romanesque architecture. The exterior is covered with white marble. The main architect was Buscetto, who is buried in the last blind arch on the left side of the facade. The facade itself was built by Buscetto's successor, Rinaldo. Form. Its floor plan is of a Latin cross with 5 naves, the central one covered with a wooden ceiling while the lateral naves are covered by groin vaults. Over the crossing rises an ellipsoidal dome. The columns between the naves have beautiful monolithic shafts of polished granite, with ancient capitals and attic bases, all of them uniform and perhaps taken from some ancient Roman building from Sicily or Tuscany that were disassembled in order to embellish the new cathedral. These columns support large arches above which the upper gallery runs along the lateral naves, and that is completely decorated with bands of white and green marble forming a natural polychromy. Exterior. Bands of red and white marble. Ground story is faced with wall arcading. Entrance facade is thrown into relief by tiers of wall passages which rise one above another into the gable. The bottom section has tall blind arcades with pastel-colored marble inlay and 3 portals with bronze doors. Above this are 4 rows of open arcades with delicate columns rising to the top of a gable that is much taller than the cathedral roof. On top, statues of Madonna with Child, and, on the corners, the 4 evangelists. Exterior architectural features. 1. Facade. The exterior facade of the Pisa Cathedral is made of gleaming white marble, adorned with intricate sculptures, columns, and arches. 2. 3-tiered facade. The facade is organized into 3 tiers, each with its own distinct architectural elements and decorations. 3. Biblical sculptures. The facade features numerous sculptures depicting scenes from the Bible, including stories from the Old and New Testaments. 4. Columns and arcades. The facade incorporates a series of columns and arcades, adding depth and texture to the overall design. 5. Pisan Romanesque style. The architectural style of the exterior is predominantly Pisan Romanesque, characterized by its robust forms, simple shapes, and harmonious proportions. 6. Lunettes. Above the main entrance, there are lunettes with mosaics representing the Last Judgment and the life of Christ. 7. Pisa Griffin. The cathedral's facade also includes the famous Pisa Griffin, a large bronze sculpture which is a mythical beast considered as symbol of the city. The griffin has the head of an eagle, ears like those of a horse, wattles of a rooster, wings, and the body of a lion and other mammals' limbs and toes. 8. Portals. The main entrance and side portals are elaborately decorated with sculptural elements and intricate designs. Interior architectural features. Inside, the nave is edged by 2 rows of monolithic columns made of granite from the Isle of Elba, flanked by 4 aisles separated by smaller colonnades of columns 68 in numbers with large galleries on top, covered by groin vaults and looking out onto the nave through some double lancet and 4 lancet windows. The interior is faced with black and white marble and has a gilded ceiling and a fresco-decorated dome. The nave is covered by a wooden coffered ceiling that in the 17th century replaced the original exposed trusses. Rich and sumptuous are the decorations in the Cathedral of Pisa, the development of which is related to an often troubled history marked by often calamitous events that culminated in the fire of 1595. Section: Elevation and View of Pisa Cathedral. Exterior and interior views of Pisa Cathedral. Pisa Baptistry. The baptistry of Pisa was begun in 1153 with Master de' Salvi as the architect in charge. It has a circular floor plan with a nave that runs all around it and a gallery at the second level. The central space, with the baptismal fonts, is covered by a very high conical dome in order to enhance the acoustics of the construction. It is believed that this dome originally had a hole at the very top and that the dome itself was extradosed, that is, visible to the outside with the same conical shape seen at the interior of the building. But in the Renaissance, this conical dome was surrounded by a spherical surface from which now protrudes the tip of the original cone. In the original construction, the exterior wall of the baptistry had a simple ornamentation with arcades characteristic of the Pisan style but was later decorated with Gothic pinnacles. Space planning and form. The baptistry is a circular building, resembling a Roman dome, with a diameter of about 35 meters, 114.8 feet, and a height of approximately 54 meters, 177.2 feet. It follows a typical Romanesque architectural plan and consists of three main parts. 1. Outer facade. The exterior of the baptistry is decorated with various arches, columns, and intricate sculptures. The lower section consists of blind arcades, while the upper part features open galleries with slender columns and beautiful arcades. 2. Inner space. The interior of the baptistry is relatively simple yet elegant. The main circular space is covered by a large dome with a central oculus, which allows natural light to fill the interior. The dome is supported by a series of arches and columns. 3. Pulpit and baptismal font. Inside the baptistry, there is a beautifully carved pulpit, armbo, created by Niccolo Pisano and his son Giovanni Pisano. The pulpit features scenes from the life of Christ. Surrounded on the lower story by half columns connected by semicircular arches. A door under one of the arches. Above these arches an open arcade of small detached columns. This arcade is surmounted by Gothic additions. The main portal is decorated with reliefs including the events from the life of John the Baptist carved into the pillars flanking the portal. Structural details. The baptistry's structural design is notable for its innovative engineering and construction techniques, especially considering its age. Some key structural details include: 1. Dome and oculus. The baptistry's large dome is an outstanding architectural achievement of its time. It was constructed with a double shell structure to provide stability. The outer dome provides support, while the inner dome serves as a decorative element. The oculus at the top of the dome not only lets light in but also reduces the weight of the dome. 2. Column and arch system. The baptistry features a system of columns and arches that distribute the weight of the dome and create a visually appealing interior. The columns are made of different materials, including marble and granite. 3. Construction materials. The baptistry is primarily constructed using white marble, which was sourced from various regions of Italy. Plan, section and elevation of Pisa Baptistry. Pisa Campanile. Next to the cathedral stands the Campanile, traditionally known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a cylindrical tower with 7 floors topped by a cylinder of smaller diameter where the bells are placed. The tower's exterior wall is decorated by arcades on each floor, a design that was in complete harmony with that of the cathedral's facade. The unique leaning of the tower was not preconceived but the result of the irregular and natural sinking of the ground on which it was built. Form: a cylindrical tower of 16 meters in diameter, 8 stories in height consisting of encircling arcades. Dimensions: the height of the tower is 55.86 meters from the ground on the lowest side and 56.70 meters on the highest side. The width of the walls at the base is 4.09 meters and at the top 2.48 meters. Structure: The tower has 296 steps which rise in the form of a spiral on the inner side of the tower walls. Prior to restoration work performed between 1990 and 2001, the tower leaned at an angle of 5.5 degrees, but now leans 3.9 degrees. Next to the cathedral stands the campanile, traditionally known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a cylindrical tower with 7 floors topped by a cylinder of smaller diameter where the bells are placed. The tower's exterior wall is decorated by arcades on each floor, a design that was in complete harmony with that of the cathedral's facade. The unique leaning of the tower was not preconceived but the result of the irregular and natural sinking of the ground on which it was built. Form: a cylindrical tower of 16 meters in diameter, 8 stories in height consisting of encircling arcades. Dimensions: the height of the tower is 55.86 meters from the ground on the lowest side and 56.70 meters on the highest side. The width of the walls at the base is 4.09 meters and at the top 2.48 meters. Structure: the tower has 296 steps which rise in the form of a spiral on the inner side of the tower walls. Prior to restoration work performed between 1990 and 2001, the tower leaned at an angle of 5.5 degrees, but now leans 3.9 degrees. Architectural detail: surrounded at its ground level by an order of tall blind arcades resting on half columns, following an architectural plan similar to the front of the cathedral. Above ground level are 6 floors of aerial open galleries. A cornice separates these galleries one from the other and each presents a series of small arches fitted on the capitals of the slender columns. The first floor is surrounded by pillars with classical capitals, leaning against blind arches. At its highest part lies the cylindrical belfry of a smaller diameter encircled by small arcades resting upon consoles or small columns framing the various openings. From the 4th floor up, the columns are thinner on the side of leaning to lighten the weight in that part. Interior and exterior views of Pisa Campanile. Sectional view and bell tower details of Pisa Campanile. Campo Santo. The building was the 4th and last one to be raised in the cathedral square. The exterior marble-faced walls of the Campo Santo are solid and unadorned, composed of 43 blind arches with 2 doorways. The right entrance is crowned by a gracious tabernacle, designed in typical Gothic architecture. It contains the Virgin Mary with Child, surrounded by 4 saints. The inner walls overlooking the long courtyard are made of delicate traceried windows, which were never filled with glass. Most of the tombs are under the arcades, although a few are on the central lawn. The inner court is surrounded by elaborate round arches with slender mullions and pluri-lobed tracery. The cemetery has 3 chapels: 1. The Chapel Ominote, 2. The Chapel Ola, 3. The Chapel del Pozzo. A long, rectangular stretch of well-tended grass surrounded by Gothic marble cloisters and topped with a dome at one end, the Campo Santo is a unique and elegant space.